How's it going, guys? It's K Cars, and in this video I wanted to talk to you guys about why I decided to get a Jeep Cherokee XJ over a Wrangler TJ. So let's get right into it. The Cherokee XJ was produced from 1984 until 2001, and the Wrangler TJ was produced from 1996 until 2006. So I would say the main factor in making my decision was actually just the price. So of course both Jeeps are amazing vehicles to own, and I'm going to be going over some of the advantages and disadvantages of each vehicle. But anyways, this is a 2001 Jeep Cherokee XJ. I got it with 103,000 miles for $3,500, and I think it's in pretty good condition. Of course, it does have regular Jeep rust that you would expect right there on the rocker. I definitely have to get that fixed up. But anyways, $3,500 for this thing. If I wanted to get a Wrangler TJ in the same type of good condition as this Jeep, I've seen them priced as high as $10,000. I do understand they are very valuable, but I still think that might be a little bit too much considering you can get a Jeep like this for $3,500. So for example, I got onto Facebook Marketplace and just searched up Jeep Wranglers for sale, and here's a 2004 TJ, $7,500. It looks like it's in pretty good condition, so I would say this is pretty comparable to my XJ. It also is a few years newer as well. That just shows you how much more expensive the Wranglers are than the Cherokees, and I think that's just because they're more desirable, because, you know, the Wrangler is like the off-road vehicle from Jeep. Even the new ones, like the JLs, the JKs, those are all off-road vehicles from Jeep. Like, that's what they're known for doing. If you look at the new Cherokees, I really don't think you could off-road those, and they just don't look like they used to. I really do wish that Jeep would bring back the old body style of the Cherokees. I think they'd sell a lot more of those. That's probably the #1 thing that made me get an XJ over a TJ, is just the price. So this thing is a lot cheaper than a TJ. Of course, you can get cheaper TJs, but they're not going to be in as good condition as this thing. So I just wanted to remind you guys that this video, just like all my other videos, is just my opinion. I think both vehicles are great. I'm not trying to like say that the Wrangler is bad or anything. I'm just giving you guys my opinions and some differences between the two Jeeps. So another reason for getting the XJ over the TJ was just the amount of space that you get. So obviously for off-roading, you do want a more compact vehicle, something that's lighter, that can fit into more places, that's more nimble. So obviously the TJ is a little bit more nimble than the XJ. But then again, the XJ does have a longer wheelbase, so that's also an advantage when it comes to off-roading. So they do both have advantages and disadvantages of off-roading. Of course, the XJ is a little bit bigger. That makes it a little bit more difficult if you're on like a tight trail or something, where the TJ, of course, it's smaller, more nimble, so you might be able to take the TJ more places where the XJ wouldn't be able to fit. To me, I really don't think that's a big deal, because the XJ is still like, it's not a huge vehicle. It is pretty nimble in my opinion. It can definitely fit in a lot of like tight trails and stuff like that. So I really don't think that's too big of a disadvantage for the XJ. Moving on to the wheelbase, as you guys see, the wheelbase of the XJ is definitely a little bit longer than the TJ, just because, like I said, the TJ is a 2-door, the XJ is a 4-door. Of course, they do make the XJs in 2 doors, and also in the later years of the TJ, Jeep did release the LJ, which is a TJ with a longer wheelbase. The longer wheelbase can be better for off-roading, especially if you're going up really steep inclines. It can definitely save you from flipping. So if you guys watch a bunch of off-roading videos of like Jeeps flipping over, it's usually the Jeeps with the short wheelbases that flip more easily than the ones with the long wheelbases. I think something that does make up for the TJ's short wheelbase is actually the suspension that it comes with. So the TJ actually has coil springs in the front and rear. Now for the XJs, they only have coil springs in the front and they have leaf springs in the back. So let me show you guys what I mean by that. So right over here in the rear, you can see the leaf springs. I know they are in pretty bad shape. I'm getting these replaced pretty soon. And over in the front, you can see it has coil springs. So the TJ actually has coil springs in the front and rear, like I mentioned. So that gives you better articulation and flex. So what I mean by that is just how much it can like articulate whenever you're going over obstacles. For example, if you're going over a rock, the TJ will be able to flex a little bit better. That way the Jeep has more traction when you're going off-roading. It can actually keep the tires more on the road surface without them lifting up. Now, some people have said that the reason for those differences is because the XJ was designed to be more of a family-oriented vehicle, so that's why they gave it leaf springs in the back, just so it can be able to, I don't know, maybe tow something if you need to. And they designed the Wrangler TJ to be more of an off-roader, So that's why they gave it coil springs in the front and rear, just so it can have more articulation and flex when you're off-roading. But it is kind of a trade-off between both Jeeps. The advantage of the XJ is you have a longer wheelbase, but you don't get the articulation that you would get in a TJ because you don't have coil springs in the rear. You only have them in the front, and then in the rear you get leaf springs. Now with the TJ, the advantage with that is that you do have coil springs in the front and the rear, but then again, the wheelbase is shorter than an XJ. Of course, they both come with the famous Jeep 4-liter inline 6, so you really don't have to worry about that. Pretty much everyone says that the Jeep 4.0 is bulletproof, so I do think that the Wrangler TJ does have some more aftermarket support, just because it is made for off-roading. It is Jeep's off-road vehicle. The Cherokee definitely does have a lot of off-road support as well, but I don't think it has as much as the TJ. Now, of course, you guys probably know this, but you can take the doors off of the TJ. It is possible to do that with the XJ, but it's probably not recommended because it's not made to do that. So that's one downside of the XJ and one upside of the TJ, if that's something that you're looking for. As well as the removable roof on the TJ, of course, unless you want to like saw this thing off, you can't remove the roof. I probably wouldn't recommend doing that, but I know there's definitely some XJs out there with the roof cut off, so that's definitely one way that you can go with this thing. But anyways, like I said, the TJ does have a removable roof. I think that's pretty cool that you can take the doors and the roof off of a TJ and just cruise around in the summer. Now, the interior of both Jeeps are pretty much the same. There's really not much of a difference, except for the fact that the XJ has a little bit more space in the rear because it is a 4-door, it has a longer wheelbase, and it's just an overall bigger vehicle. As you can see on the XJ here, you do have quite a good bit of space in the trunk, whereas in the TJ you would probably just have the seats laying right here with a little bit of storage space behind them. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the interior because they are pretty much the same, except the XJ just has a little bit more space. So whichever Jeep you decide to get, like I said, it's all personal preference, but I would say that the XJ is the better all-around vehicle. It's good at on-road driving and off-road driving, completely stock too, so that's pretty cool. And then for the TJ, like I said, it is more of an off-road vehicle, I think. I've actually never driven a TJ, but I wouldn't expect that it's too bad on the road. So like I said, guys, I do think that the main reason that I got an XJ over a TJ is simply just the price. I didn't want to spend like $7,500 on a TJ when I could get a really good Jeep for $3,500. Also, another reason is that I think the XJ is just a better overall all-around vehicle. It's good off-road and on-road, and I don't think the TJ is bad on-road. I just think the XJ might be a little bit more practical if you're planning on daily driving it as well as off-roading it. And once again, guys, most of this video was just my opinion except for the facts that I did give you guys. If you're trying to choose between an XJ and a TJ, then it really all comes down to personal preference and what you're going to be using the Jeep for. If you guys are XJ or TJ owners, definitely drop your opinions down below in the comments because I definitely want to see what you guys have to say about XJs and TJs and which one you guys think is better. That's going to do it for this video, guys. If you have any questions or video suggestions for videos you'd like to see in the future, make sure to drop those down in the comments. If you guys liked this video or found it entertaining, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. Alright guys, so let's see how the Jeep does going through these little mud holes right here. It's nothing serious, but they're definitely like, you know, they're pretty big. They're not too deep though. So obviously it's handling it just fine. There we go. This is probably the biggest one here, I'd say. Yeah, no problem whatsoever.